Good evening. Welcome to the Wednesday edition of Newsmax Prime. I'm J.D. Hayworth. Of prime interest tonight, top secret. That's the classification of some of the emails found on Hillary Clinton's server, according to a report from McClatchy, and that could spell big trouble for the former Secretary of State. The Inspector General notified senior members of Congress that at least 2 of the 4 classified emails discovered on that server contain sensitive material deemed to be in the highest security classification. 2016 Republican presidential candidates Carly Fiorina and Donald Trump both reacted strongly to the latest accusations.
No excuse for a Secretary of State using a private email server and deciding which emails she's going to keep and which she's going to destroy. There's no excuse. We're not worried about it being stolen, Mrs. Clinton, although perhaps you were. We are worried about it being hacked.
You have Democrats are all the prosecutors, and they don't want to prosecute it. Did she commit a crime? Yes. Will they prosecute it? Perhaps no.
For more on our top story, I'm pleased to be joined here on the anchor desk by Miranda Kahn, and joining us via Skype from Southern California, political commentator Michael Reagan. You can follow Michael on Twitter at Reagan World. Also joining us via telephone from Orlando, Florida, Bill McCollum, the chairman of the Republican State Leadership Committee, the former Attorney General of Florida, and one of my old colleagues on Capitol Hill, a former United States congressman. Bill, we'll begin with you. Donald Trump says the prosecutors and the Justice Department are Democrat and most likely will not file charges against Hillary. Do you agree with that assessment?
Well, I don't know about the prosecutor's decision at the end of the day, but I think the FBI is going to be straight on this, and they are investigating it. I think they're going to unearth exactly what went on, and then you have to determine whether it's really criminal or not. And I'd like to believe, based on my experience, that these folks will be objective. Most of the U.S. attorneys I know are. Now, yes, there can be some politics at the White House level, and you can't be sure what goes on behind the scenes, and we're all a bit cynical, J.D. You and I have been through this. But my experience would say that once it gets in the hands of the FBI and the Justice Department prosecutorial staff, it's generally going to have a hard time keeping it from surfacing if there are real criminal acts that occurred.
Michael, Hillary Clinton's poll numbers, as you may already know, continue to fall. Some say that's because more and more Americans just don't trust her. Do you think this will be the final nail in the coffin for Hillary's campaign?
Gosh, I hope not. I still want her on that ticket because I think she's really beatable in November of 2016. Of course, we just had 27,000 people out here for Bernie Sanders the other night in California. Welcome to the Nutsy Cuckoo Country Club where I live. But I don't think this will be the final nail in her column because the Clintons seem to never get it. I mean, they keep on redefining what this is really mean. And right now she's basically put it off on her aides. So she'll find someone to blame other than herself for this. But I'd like to ask a quick question, maybe you can, for me and Bill McCollum. He's an attorney. If I'm on a private server and I send an email to the server she sent it to, or I receive an email from that server, whether it's about lunch or dinner, is it not the same thing? Isn't it classified if you're dealing with a classified server for no matter what reason?
Well, Michael, you're absolutely right. You are dealing with a classified situation, if it's truly classified. I remember the Inspector General saying something very confusing in the last day or so about the fact that some of the material here was classified in nature, top secret, but at the time it wasn't classified. So we're liable to get into a lot of technicals here. Bottom line is there could be charges ranging from the same type of thing that General Petraeus was charged with for transferring information that is government information against the law after she left office, or maintaining possession of it, or violating an oath, something really technical like that that's a misdemeanor, all the way to felonies for things that are much more serious, ranging from obstruction of justice, possibly with Congress, to destruction of evidence after the fact, to issues pertaining to the fact that this is highly classified material and she might have done something really, really bad. But we don't know that.
But J.D. and Miranda, I mean, the thing is, Nixon and the Republicans fall down because people within their own party finally come out against them. But there's nobody on the Democrat side, other than maybe Bernie Sanders, coming out against Hillary and what she did. I mean, my God, if this would have happened to a Republican or like Petraeus, It'd be all over the news. It'd be the #1 story everywhere. But it's the Clintons who seem to always get a pass, and maybe America's finally catching up to it.
That could be true. Of course, the other possibility is somebody at the White House, maybe Valerie Jarrett, maybe the president himself, has a less than charitable view of Hillary. But when we take this down the next trail, it could be a solid front for the Democrats, and that's because of one word, Benghazi. Trey Gowdy, the chairman of the House Select Committee on Benghazi, appeared on MSNBC earlier today. Gentlemen, we'll take a listen to what he had to say, then we'd like to get reaction from you both.
Taking affirmative steps to actually wipe a server clean denotes or can denote a desire or a willingness or an intention to conceal far beyond simply just deleting something.
So it sounds like shades of the 18-minute gap on the tapes with Richard Nixon. Michael, politically, if that has happened, does that really spell problems for Hillary?
Oh, yeah, it really does spell problems for her. And the fact that they let Trey Gowdy on MSNBC in and of itself is a big deal to go out against Hillary, because if anything, MSNBC has been uplifting the liberals, uplifting Hillary Clinton on anything and everything she's ever done. So allow Trey Gowdy on there to make that statement, I think, is huge in of itself. But it needs to get out to the ABCs, the NBCs, the CBSs. They need to be feeling the heat of really of the public saying, we want to get to the bottom of all of this, and hopefully we finally do get to the bottom. But again, Benghazi, the flip answer she gave about Benghazi, who cares? There's a lot of people who do care.
Bill, I want to ask you, we've been talking a lot about the legal ramifications, whether or not Hillary followed proper protocol or whether she broke any laws. But basically, couldn't this hurt her, just the perception? Couldn't that hurt her and end her campaign?
Well, politically it could. But what Michael's saying is very true, though. We've got to see a breakthrough where a good sector of the public, that's in the independents in particular, don't just view her in a cynical way, but they view her in some way as malevolent, as somebody who's a bad actor, and whether there's a criminal act that she gets charged with or not. And that requires the broader media to come in and take a role that they traditionally have, and that's hard in this environment today politically, harder than it was when I was elected to serve with JD, and it was hard enough then. So I think that she is being hurt, no matter what degree. A lot of people that I'm in my circles in the Republican Party are talk in terms of thinking that somebody's going to emerge on the Democrat side and really take her on besides Bernie. I don't know if that's being overly optimistic or not, but I've been in a lot of conferences lately with Democrats, and they're beginning to think that really could happen. Besides just Joe Biden, it might be somebody like Al Gore that does.
Well, we'll keep an eye on that. Meantime, on the Republican side, Michael Reagan, last night at the Ronald Reagan Presidential Library, Jeb Bush spoke on foreign policy. You were there. What was your take on what he had to say? 20 seconds.
Really was a great speech about foreign policy, really going after Hillary and of course, this administration today for what happened in Benghazi, what's happened with ISIS and what have you, really laying at the foot of the Secretary of State, who was against the surge before she was for the surge. You find that a lot with Democrat circles, if you will, and really laying at her doorstep what's happened in Fallujah and other areas.
Gentlemen, we'll have to leave it there. Michael Reagan and Bill McCollum, thank you so much for your time. Still to come, more negative reaction on that looming nuclear agreement with Iran. Now from our wounded warriors. Later, what does Governor Bobby Jindal think about faith, family values, and Obamacare? He tells it like it is in tonight's portion of my exclusive one-on-one interview. But first, two staunch conservatives talk about the effect Donald Trump is having on the GOP. That and more when Newsmax Prime continues.